100 of the best science fiction movies. Man, it's me, your boy C, the host of most of the things right here on the Paprika Network. If this is the first time you're joining us, boy, you chose a time to come into the fold, man. We have been talking about the 100 best science fiction movies of all time, according to me, as racked and stacked from 100 to 1. One a day for the first 100 days of the year. That's how Paprika is starting off 2022. It's how we started off 2020, and maybe more in the future. Man, yesterday, if you were with us, we talked about Denis Villeneuve's Blade Runner 2049. Arguably one of the most beautiful looking movies of all time. Hard stop. That is one of the most human movies I have ever seen. One of the best paced and plotted movies. Nice little twist in there, man. That movie's almost flawless. Harrison Ford looked like he almost gave a shit. It was wonderful, man. If you have not checked out Blade Runner 2049, it is on HBO Max. I suggest you pick it up in 4K if you have that ability. Man, Blu-ray if you don't. It's a wonderful movie. What can top Blade Runner 2049, which you know is my favorite movie of all time? Wouldn't you know? Back to back, Denis Villeneuve here. Number one. The final bit of business that we have to discuss on the whole sci-fi matter. Arrival. 2016 joint, man. What's the tagline? Why are they here? I'll give it a B-, man. Taking place after alien crafts land around the world. An expert linguist is recruited by the military to determine whether they came in peace or are a threat. Man, listen, this movie, we talked about Close Encounters of the Third Kind a little while ago, maybe about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, we talked about Close Encounters of the Third Kind and how it is a benign alien invasion, or you could construe it as that. And then you look at its mirror, Independence Day, right? Not a friendly alien encounter at all. Those are the two opposite ends of the spectrum, I believe. Close Encounter of the Third Kind and Independence Day. Arrival is way closer to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Arrival's like, hey, we're here to help you so you can help us later on down the road. This is Denis Villeneuve. If you ask me, like, he did Sicario right before this, and Sicario is a masterclass in building tension. He directs Sicario very well. But Arrival's the first time he came into his powers as a director. And then he really flexed on us in Blade Runner 2049 and then Dune again. But here in Arrival, man, he coaxes the best performance out of Amy Adams we have ever gotten. This movie is why she's my number one favorite actress of all time. Jeremy Renner was tolerable. In this movie, Jeremy Renner was us. That he and Forrest Whitaker's character, they are the audience's way into the movie. We don't have those kinds of smarts that Amy Adams has. We don't have her cool, level-headed plans. All right, so Jeremy Renner and Forrest Whitaker are our way into the whole thing. We are just as confused as they are, especially Forrest Whitaker. He's the big dumb guy in this movie. He has one of those sci-fi tropes. Explain it to me like I'm five type deals. It's one of my favorite tropes in all of science fiction. Why don't you explain it to me like I'm five? You never studied. What he does here? Who shot this movie, man? I gotta go look, man. Whoever shot this movie did an outstanding job because this shit is beautiful. It's Bradford Young is a cinematographer. Go look that man's work up because this is what really made me start paying attention to cinematography, man. This movie is beautiful visually. The story is beautiful. The way that he decided to tell the story out of sequence when we think we're at the beginning, when really we're at the end when we start. Like I said before in a movie that we talked about a couple weeks ago, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but when you're starting a movie at the end and then, or at the end, and then you're spending the rest of your movie kind of working back towards that, that's nothing new. But here it's done with such great effect. Such great effect. It took us all by surprise. There was a point I was like, are they? Maybe they're. No, there's no fucking way they're doing that. It's everything. It's intelligent science fiction. I've often said we only get like one, maybe two good, heady, thoughtful sci-fi movies in a year that really goes out to a mass appeal. There's a lot of good smaller indie joints like your Coherence, like your Predestination, or even Arc or Time Lapse, man. Really good, strong, heady science fiction movies that have a good, strong story. It's not just all about the pew-pews and the space lasers. There's a seat at the table for both, but we get a lot more of the pew-pews, I think, that really break big than we do these thoughtful, thought-provoking, really makes you reflect on the movie when you leave the theaters. That's what Arrival does. This movie is almost flawless, I think. This movie, I mean, we're at the run. Like, these last like 5 or so movies are just are in the zeitgeist forever, as far as I'm concerned. You could wake me up at 2:00 in the morning and be like, "Hey, you want to watch Arrival?" You're damn right. I want to watch Arrival. Give me a second to make myself a cocktail, and I'm going to be there for you. Arrival is, I think, in my opinion, the best science fiction movie ever made. For all the points I just stated. The directing, dope. The acting, super dope. The cinematography, dope. The story and the way the story is presented, dope. It's look at a somewhat hopeful. The communication is the whole theme in this movie. The communication, I have said in job interviews, is one of the basic building blocks of all society. And that is shown no clearer than it is in Arrival, when all the countries are not on one page communicating with each other, when Russia and China decide to pull out of the joint effort and do their own thing, and how shittily that whole thing went because we weren't all on one unified front working together. I have said it no less than 50 or 60 times during this whole run of sci-fi movies. The best science fiction holds a mirror to our society. And our society currently is one of completely broken communication. And that is reflected wonderfully here in Arrival. Man, I could wax on and wax off about this movie for quite some time, but I think you get it at this point. To my mind, there is no greater science fiction movie than Arrival. Will there be one down the road? Possibly. I'm sure that at some point in my life, I thought there was no science fiction movie better than Star Wars when I was a kid. But, you know, as time progresses and we get more and more movies, hopefully we get more and more of these thoughtful, weighty, heady sci-fi movies that really makes you stop and think and appreciate the art of storytelling, appreciate the art of filmmaking, because the art of filmmaking is just a bunch of smaller arts combined into one large art. All right. How sound is used is an art. If they're using matte paintings, that's an art. Are they sculpting something? Art. Are they building sets? Art. The writing of the script, writing is an art. Acting is an art. Film is just a whole bunch of smaller art disciplines that combine to make one great discipline. And the greatest science fiction discipline that has been set to film or digital, I believe, is Arrival. And that is it. That is it for the 100 best science fiction movies. You all in Paprika have fought and disagreed with me this entire time. I would like to formally announce that all of you have been wrong this entire time. This list is the correct list. And it will be up in its entirety here in the next couple of days or so. So if there's anyone that you missed, If there's something like, I think it was back in the 70s, there's that one I hadn't seen, it will be up in its entirety. So yeah, that's it, man. We will dispense with this business. I'm tired. I'm tired of watching sci-fi movies. I've been working on this shit for the last 18 months. But thank you all for listening. If you listen to one, if you listen to all 100 of them, I appreciate you checking this project out. There's a lot more that goes into it than you think it does. But for now, you all take it easy and have a good one out there.